Hello and welcome to everyone. Today our guest is English mixed martial artist Oli Thompson. So Oli, can you please say a few words about yourself so we can continue with the interview? Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, sure, it's a pleasure. Yeah, so my name's Oli Thompson. Obviously, I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter, my 11th year. I'm a former Strongman champion and a former British champion in Strongman and the world's strongest man competitor. I've fought around the world in the UFC and Bellator, in Japan in IGF, KSW in Poland, amongst others, Spain and Poland. I'm a title holder in IGF in Japan and currently in FEN in Poland.
Thank you so much. Can you please elaborate the origin of your nickname?
Which one?
Which one do you want to say? That's why I ask fighter, because fighter many times they have many nicknames. So can you please elaborate all of them?
Okay. Well, the older one is Spartan. It's just it's a bit of a common one. It's not really my nickname, but it's one time I didn't really have a nickname, and the shows sometimes ask you, "What's the nickname? What's the nickname? We need to know a nickname." And I didn't really want a nickname, but then actually it came from obviously Spartans, like from the movie, 300, like Leonidas. But anyone with a beard who fights is called Spartan, so it's a bit boring. It's a bit boring, really. But actually, funny enough, the story was I was in the gym in London, in a boxing gym, professional boxing gym, a big gym by a famous coach called Adam Booth, David Hayes gym. And I was sparring there, and also one of the guys from my team boxing, Chris Eubank Jr., who's a very famous boxer, had just done his rounds with George Groves. So I'm dropping some names here, but he's a good name. So, and I was going to do some rounds now with a guy called Luke Watkins. And I think something like Chris just said, "Let your hands go, Spartan," or something like this. So maybe the same night they wanted the name. I was like, "Oh yeah, all right, Spartan." So that was it. And then afterwards, about a month later, I'd seen there was so many of them fighters using the same name that I was trying to like stop it. Like, no more. I don't want this name anymore. So I tried to stop it, and then I mean, other nicknames probably more not known so much. It's more just names between me and my friends, really.
Great, awesome. When did you start training MMA, and why did Strongman turn MMA? What happened?
Okay, yeah, it's I did my last competition in Strongman in 2008, World's Strongest Man. It was in West Virginia. My last competition there, and I had a injury to my arm a year earlier, an operation on my arm, a bicep tear, reattachment. So I didn't compete for a year. And I came back, and I was always thought that I'd win World's Strongest Man, I'd be champion, and that was still my goal. When I came back for World's Strongest Man in 2008, sorry, I didn't do too well in World's Strongest Man, and I realised that my arm was not happy with what I was doing. So on the plane home, I decided I'd retire from Strongman. Just immediately, I just thought, I've had enough. And then by the time I'd landed, I'd already decided I was a fighter, professional fighter.
How would you describe your fighting style?
My fighting style now, let me think. I mean, it's just like I'm sort of like into obviously being powerful, having good endurance for a big man, having good boxing skills, and I can wrestle and grapple when the time comes. I haven't really got a specific style because I try and adapt for whoever my opponent is. But I certainly, when I started this game, I certainly used to use a lot more wrestling than I do now because I didn't really have any skills in this sport at the time. So you kind of use your athletic abilities, and I think the biggest martial art that you can use your athletic abilities to survive is the wrestling game. So I used that, my explosive speed of big takedowns to win fights. But as I went on, I learned more about how to play the jiu-jitsu game, how to play the boxing game, how to play the Muay Thai. Funny enough, I didn't start working on any striking at all, technically any striking or training with a coach or striking until I signed in the UFC. Before that, I never did any striking.
So, do you have a favorite strike and submission? I mean, you mentioned you didn't work, but is there something that is kind of your trademark or?
Favorite for me. You know, I'll probably say that as far as striking, the styles I admire are more like some of the boxers. Really, I admire some of the great defensive boxers and the guys that can great counter striking. In modern times, you've got people like someone like Canelo, Saul Alvarez. You've got great head movement and great counters. But it doesn't mean that I'm very good at it. It just means I like it, you know. And I try and improve and get better like these guys do. As far as my thing, really, I would just say for me, striking terms is just I want to just use my powerful strikes on my big right hand more than I do, because the problem for heavyweights is you usually train with a lot of smaller guys because there's more smaller guys. So if they're your friends and teammates and they're smaller guys, and you don't always throw big powerful shots at them because it's not good to do that because they won't want to train with you. So after a while, it becomes a habit to not throw these powerful punches in your fights, and then you don't do it. So like in my last fight, I threw one right hand and it knocked the guy out, for example. So it's just an example that we should let the big powerful punches go more often, and sometimes we get in the habit of not doing that.
Okay, can you please discuss your professional MMA debut?
Yeah, my MMA debut was I've been training for 1 month, so I didn't know anything at all really. Maybe a couple of takedowns. I was fighting a guy who'd had maybe 4 or 5 fights. He'd won a few, lost a couple. But he was aggressive, and I was too big. I was really big, like big muscles, but too much. So I didn't really know how to prepare myself mentally for the fight. So in my head, I just got really pumped up and really excited and really sort of like almost angry, aggressive. So I went into the fight, and within 1 minute, I was so tired. But I had taken him down a few times because I was just powerful and fast. I remember the first round, I was on top of him. I was a mount on top of this guy. And the first round finished, and I couldn't get up off of him. He pushed me off and got up. He got up before me from mount. And I thought, wow, I'm so tired. I thought it was a scary place to be when you're that tired. But I got the second round, and I managed to submit him with an arm triangle choke, which I'd seen on TV or something, I think. And I got it, and I was amazed. And he was pissed off. But he came back for a rematch 3 months later, and I finished him in the first round really fast, just in case he was pissed off still. But it was horrible, but it was a good lesson. And as long as you still win, it's a good lesson. If you lose, it's a maybe you don't fight anymore.
How did you knock out Steve Day? That's your 4th fight.
Yeah, Steve Day. I remember he was just he wasn't a very experienced guy, and he was local. He lives local to me. He doesn't live too far from me, maybe like an hour. And he'd been telling everyone how he wants to fight me, and he was a strongman. No one ever had heard of him as a strongman, and all this stuff. So I was quite happy to get him in this tournament we did. And I just, he was throwing a jab, and it was a terrible jab. So I remember the corner shouted, "Oli, throw the right hand when he jabs." So straight away, he jabbed, I threw a right hand, and it landed like on his head. I just saw him sort of hovering in the air, so I threw another one, and just 2 right hands, and he just landed on his face. It was great because I couldn't strike at all, so it was nice to know that I could still land the powerful shots, you know.
It's awesome. Can you discuss your first professional loss to Jove Depo?
Yeah, well, funny because same tournament, same night as Steve Day. This fight was as well. I fought 3 fights this night. I fought Jody, he'd fought in the UFC at middleweight, but he was down there and he fought in the tournament. And actually, I was beat. I can't find the video for this fight, but I was beating Jody quite easily. And basically, I think at the end of the first round, I was landing quite a few shots on him. I stepped back and I saw my right foot slipped, and I went down to a knee. So I had one knee. As I went down to one knee, he jumped forward and threw a knee in the side of my head, where I was grounded. Obviously, it wasn't planned, but it was too fast. I wasn't up, and it hit me in the head. And then I was like, whoa, wobbling, and he threw lots of punches. Now looking at the referee, because obviously it wasn't legal. It was illegal. And the referee broke it up and took away a point. And he said, "Are you okay to continue?" Now, I was so inexperienced that for me, if I say no, I think that the fight's finished. I've lost. But really, I win. So I said, "Yeah, I'm ready to fight." So he said, "Fight," but I was already a mess. And he just jumped in and swarmed in, boom, 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 lots of punches, and the referee stopped it. I didn't go down again. I was on my feet the whole time. Couldn't put me down. And afterwards, I had a real concussion from the knee. I had a big lump on my head here, where he kneed me in the head. So it's unfortunate because the loss was off my first loss, and also against a guy who people say was too small. But really, it wasn't really a legitimate situation, if that makes sense.
All right. How did you win and defend the UC MMA heavyweight championship?
So obviously, I beat the guy who was very on form, Ben Smith, at the time in the fight. That's on YouTube. It's very popular. It's a good fight because it's an exciting fight. It's not a very good technical fight. It's just good, exciting. And I choke him in the end. But my first defence was a very hard fight against a guy called Mark Potter, who was a very good professional boxer before he fought MMA. And no one in the UK wanted to fight him. No one, because he was knocking everybody out. He was knocking everybody out with his hands. And I took the defence against him, and I was supposed to lose because he's like the London guy in London. It's for him to win the title. But I went into the good camp in America for this fight. I went into the camp in Huntington Beach. Me, Congo, and a few guys. I came back and I felt good. My wrestling was good. I knew the boxer wouldn't like it. So yeah, I went in the fight. That's probably my most perfect fight as far as, if you watch it on YouTube, me versus Mark Potter, just the way I execute and take apart a guy with such strong boxing was great. I love watching this fight. It's real technically, it's perfect. And also, I really rate Mark. Mark's such a dangerous guy, and he's a guy. He retired maybe one fight after this, or two fights after this. So probably the international fans won't really know who he is, which is a shame because he's very good and very dangerous, and he could have gone very far in another reality. It just didn't quite work out.
Can you please describe your UFC voyage?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, so I signed to the UFC. I've been negotiating with Bellator, and UFC basically made me a better offer. So I went to the UFC. It was quite early for me. I'd only been training for, I think, maybe two years, something like this. So my first fight was meant to be Sport of Freeze in England, but I hurt my arm, so I had to pull out. So I got matched up in Australia with Sean Jordan. And even though I couldn't strike, and all I'd done is been wrestling, I decided that I want to be a boxer now. So if you watch the fight, that's all I do. I've never had any striking. I do the whole fight boxing, and I nearly knocked him out a few times as well. He was better at that time. He was a better boxer than me, and he landed lots of shots. I nearly submitted him, and it was a good fight. It was a good fight, and I got a little bonus for it and everything. It was good. And I've got a good chin, so I can always have entertaining fights because I can take a shot. So and still fight. I'm always trying to win the fight. So that was good. The second fight was terrible. That was with DeFreeze, who's a friend of mine, but my preparation was terrible. Basically, I went to Las Vegas to prepare in a camp with Congo and some coaches. But basically, it wasn't very good training when I was there. And then basically Congo went to his fight in Canada, I believe it was, maybe 3 weeks before my fight. And all the coaches said, "Oh, we're going to Canada too." And I said, "So when are you coming back?" They said, "Oh, no, we're not coming back." So I did the camp in Vegas without the coaches we were supposed to have. And I felt my training was so bad, my confidence was so low that I couldn't have beaten anybody on that day. I wouldn't have beaten CM Punk on that day.
Can you discuss your KSW debut against Kamil Laos?
No, the debut was Karol Bedov. Karol Bedov? Yeah, because Wallace was number two. It was the second fight. The first fight was Bedov, and it was amazing. It was amazing. This was Karol. Karol was at his best at his time. This was when he was at his best, at his peak. He won a lot of fights, and It's funny because I said I never started striking before the UFC. After this, still in the KSW, I'd never been leg kicked ever. No one had ever kicked me in the leg, and so I didn't know this hurts. So that's what fed off kicked my leg lots of times, bam, 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 and eventually I fell. I went. It put me to the floor, and I got up, and my leg was black. It was a big problem. So I switched southpaw for the rest of the fight. I came back, and I won the last round. And I had great endurance. Carroll was a mess, and I could have done more rounds. I was good, but he won on points. It was such an amazing time in Warsaw. The crowd, the KSW ramp. KSW's presentation is always very good. They take a lot of time and effort to make the presentation of the show a really good show. So I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the crowd as well. And even though I lost, I felt the crowd really appreciated my heart and my effort.
Did you start train leg checking after that? Checking low kicks and.
Yeah, I mean, not straight away. I had to rest first because I had to have wheelchairs in the airport. My leg was black. Yeah, it's funny because I remember he came in with the hands. He was just setting me up for the kicks. So he bum, and then big kick. I remember it made a big noise on my leg, and the crowd go ooh. And I'm thinking, oh, don't. It's no big deal. It's fine. Maybe a minute later, boom, boom, boom. The crowd go ooh, and I'm thinking, why are you making this noise? It's nothing. This is fine. It doesn't even hurt. And I remember boom, 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 number 3. Ooh, and I'm thinking, wow, that feels a bit funny. And then number 4, I don't know how long apart this is, but number 4 came in, boom, 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 and I dropped to the floor. And I got up, and I was like, wow, this is painful. So I stepped back, and I thought to myself, if he kicks me again in the same place, I'm going to pass out. The pain was that much. So I thought, you know what, I need to switch to southpaw, to left-handed style, get my leg back, away from him. But then I thought, I was moving around, I thought, if I do that, he'll be happy. I don't want to make him happy. So I wasn't sure, and I thought, it's better that he's happy than me being out cold. So I went to left-handed. I fought the rest of the fight left-handed, But I trained for this anyway, so I started beating him left-handed. But yeah, it was probably the most pain I felt physically in my career.
The next question is Strongman versus Strongman fight against Mariusz Pujanowski. What do you think about him as a fighter? I mean, I watched him many times when he fought, but my thoughts, he's strong, but technically not strong. Powerful, big guy, but technically, I don't think he's technically good. What do you think about that?
No, he's not a good fighter. I appreciate his long career and him still working, and I appreciate this. And he's like physically in good shape, but he hasn't got good endurance. He hasn't got good power in fighting terms. He can maybe fight 2 rounds, maybe maximum, and he hasn't got good technical skills. So I don't really rate him in any way in fighting.
What can you say when you make a comparison between a super cardio heavyweight and the power punching heavyweight? Who has the advantage and why?
In heavyweights, usually the power puncher. I don't know. It's hard because not many fights go too long in heavyweights. You can finish it straight away. Maybe someone like Cain Velasquez had amazing endurance. Maybe someone like Ngannou who hasn't got good endurance but has good big power. The thing is, the power can end the fight at any moment in the fight. It can end it. But the endurance can only end the fight at the end of the fight.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Cain Velasquez is a perfect example of a world-class master endurance, and he was winning all the bouts via endurance while he was at his prime back then. So that's absolutely true. What can you say about your fight against Brett McDermott? You fought at light heavyweight, and I assume your weight cut affected heavily on your performance. I mean, have you ever fought at light heavyweight before?
No. I mean, the last time I was that weight, before that, was when I was like a child. The last time I was 93 kilos. But I've cut down twice now, 2 times, and both times I was terrible. I don't know about the McDermott fight because I did it twice. I did it one time with McDermott, and then later on with Tariq Suleiman. With Tariq Suleiman, I was a mess. My head, I couldn't think. I was a mess. The low calories, the cut, had me. I couldn't fight. With McDermott, I don't know because I just got clipped on a bad spot on the side here. So I don't know. Maybe it's a bad cut, but I don't want to say too much because at the end of the day, I applaud Brett for cat landing the shot. Maybe as a heavyweight, maybe I'll just brush it off and come forward. And I would beat him 9 times out of 10, but I don't want to invalidate the win. But yeah, I wasn't very good there. I tried it 2 times. I did it the second time to try and make the first one better, and it didn't. And now I won't do it again.
Actually, Tariq Suleiman was my guest. I interviewed him, and when I asked him about some fights, he said, I was always trying to go via cardio. So what do you think about his cardio?
I don't know. I support Tariq. I support Tariq now. We didn't really get to the point in our fight where cardio was really the issue. That wasn't the problem. That wasn't the problem. I had good cardio for this fight, but I had more problems with physical and concentration more than cardio. So I don't know, but I'm sure he's got good cardio as well. I'm sure he has.
What can you say about your fight versus Ikuhisa Minova?
Minowa. Okay, yeah. So obviously this was after I'd fought McDermott in I think November the year before, and after that fight I was very unhappy with my career, so I took a rest. I took a break for a while, and I hadn't been training. And then the offer came in and said, "Do you want to fight in Japan against Minowa?" I didn't know who Minowa was, to be honest. I didn't know. Do you want to fight against him in 2 weeks? I was like, I haven't trained for 3 months. I took 3 months off. I hadn't trained at all. Not even lifted weights. So I said, what's the money? And the money was rubbish. The money was like small. Where is it? Tokyo. I thought, I'd like to go to Tokyo. Okay. So I went for a holiday to Tokyo, really. But I did just 2 weeks of nothing apart from just going through my leg locks, ankle locks again. That's all I did, was just block his ankle locks, and he was easy for me to deal with. It's an easy fight for me. I just have to be careful because he is dangerous if he gets hold of your foot, your leg.
How did you win IGF World Grand Prix versus Fernando Rodriguez Jr?
Well, obviously I won the 2 fights to get to the final. Chris Barnett and Minowa. Both were decisions, so I won on points both times. And Fernando had knocked out both of his opponents, Anthony Ria and Joseph Ali Muhammad. So he was knocking everybody out. And he was big. He's a big guy, big aggressive guy. So we prepared for this year. We'd won 4 fights in this year before that point. We were 4-0 in 2015. And the 5th fight was New Year's Eve against Fernando. And if you haven't watched it, watch it on YouTube because it's a great highlight. If you see the fight, we had a break in action. I think it was a low blow, and the referee broke the action. And when he said fight again, he threw a jumping knee. It hit me in the chest. It really hurt. It actually hurt me for about a month afterwards. It hurt me for about 4 weeks afterwards. My chest hurt. So it really hurt my chest. But I was okay in the fight still. And then he started just going punching. And I was just covering up, waiting. And then after about a minute, my brain sort of told me, if you wait too long, one of these punches is going to hurt you. So I slipped his left hand, stepped back off his right hand, threw a straight left, right hook, and knocked him out in 2 punches. He cancelled out his 1,000 punches didn't work, and my 2 did.
Outstanding. What can you say about your Bellator run? You fought some really big names back then.
Yeah. I mean, which one would you like to talk about?
I would like to talk about both fights. I mean, I respect both of them. Both of them are really big guys and big names.
Which ones? Which ones do you mean? Sorry.
Check.
Bellator. Yeah, Bellator. Okay, so yeah, Bellator. Obviously, first of all was Matt Mitrione. That was in London. I had 3 weeks to prepare for this, which is tough normally, but even more tough because Mitrione had already prepared for a fight. He'd already fought before, 3 weeks before, so he was already in shape, you know. Whilst I wasn't really in shape too much, but I got ready, and I think this is a really good fight. I don't know what you think, but a lot of people think this is a good fight, and I gave him a lot of trouble. So he's very tough. You know, I landed some incredibly massive, big shots on him, and he just came back. And in the end, I knew I had maybe maximum 2 rounds to fight at that pace, because it's a fast pace. I knew I couldn't do 3 rounds. I hadn't had the time to prepare for it properly. And I gave him a very hard 2 rounds, but at the end of the second round, I went down. But it was more a case of, I was very tired, so I was a bit more vulnerable, you know. It wasn't like a massive knockout, but I was very tired, so I was very vulnerable. So after this fight, Bellator, I helped them out by doing the late fight, because it was only 3 weeks. And rather than look after me after this, they made me wait for 8 months, then gave me Congo, who I've been friends with previously. And rather than give me, you know, all these guys get nice fights in Bellator. And I got Mitrione then Congo, which wasn't as nice, you know. But it is what it is. I don't mind. So me and Congo were friends. We're not friends anymore. But we fought. But also on the morning of the fight, the Congo fight, I was told I was fighting Fedor for lots of money. And then I thought I was fighting Fedor for lots of money. And then hours later, before the fight, they told me, no, you're fighting Congo again. And I didn't even want to fight. I didn't want to fight because it really messed with my head. My brain wasn't in a good place because the money went down again, and it was really unprofessional with Bellator, really bad treatment. And I didn't want to fight, but I had to because I needed to, because I waited 8 months. I needed to earn some money as well. So I went and fought. If you watch the fight, it wasn't a very good fight. It wasn't a good performance at all. Physically, I'm in good shape. Physically, I fight the whole fight. I'm still healthy and good cardio. But I didn't have any offense or any strategy because I was distracted. And after this fight here, I wanted to tell the story to the public about Bellator and how they had been. But I was still under contract, so rather than tell the story, they told me that you fight soon. So I thought, you know, I'll keep the story to myself and just be a good employee. And so they kept on telling me this for 5 months. And after Fedor fought someone else, then they released me rather than let me fight. Basically, they just kept the story down for 5 months because they knew how bad it was. So it was really poor from Bellator, which is what I expect. You know, they claim to be the organisation that looks after the fighters, but that's bullshit.
What can you say about your fight against Xiao Longdeng? You finished him via knees to the body. It's a very, very rare finish. So can you elaborate and describe the finish, please?
Yeah, well, I fought him. He wasn't a known name, and this might seem like a really good opportunity. I don't like these opportunities because it doesn't excite me. If I'm not excited, I'm not really motivated as much. But it was a tournament, and Road FC were great, and the money was good, and I wanted to go out there and fight. I had this guy. If you look at this guy, then if you look at him on Tapology and Sherdog records, he doesn't show many fights, but he'd had 12 more fights that aren't recorded as well. So I knew he was more experienced than what you can see on the record. You know, a lot of these Asian fights aren't recorded, so you don't see them. But I knew I would win, but I kind of was a bit arrogant, so I went out there, and I've been cutting weight for about 12 weeks for another fight that didn't happen in FNG in Russia. So I was very lean, but I've been very hungry for a while. And I went straight out and thought, you know, I'm just going to take him down and beat him up and go home. So I shot for a takedown, and he stuffed it and put me on my back. I was like, wow, that was a surprise. So in the end, I just took the safe option in round 2 and just put him down and just held him down and put knees in. And yeah, I was kneeing his body and just carried on knee. And he was waving his hand and making some noises. I didn't know why. And then I figured out that he wanted to stop. but he obviously didn't. He didn't tap. He was just waving his hand, so I was still throwing the knees. But it's definitely a good weapon.
You fought KSW 51 against Croatian fighter Antidelia. So people, because I live next to Croatia, I live in Serbia next to Croatia, and people in Croatia, I interviewed some Croatian fighters, and they said that Antidelia was one of the greatest hopes of Croatia. What can you say about him and about that fight?
Yeah, that fight was. I basically was looking for some fights last year and hadn't found many fights that I wanted to. I wasn't busy. I wanted to be more busy. And I got a call from my manager is Croatian. He's from Croatia, and he has connections to a lot of the fighters in Croatia and the American top team in Croatia, and lots of good guys over there who are friends of mine now. And I got the call or a message on Thursday to say, "Do you want to fight on Saturday?" So I said, maybe. What money? We talked about money, and we agreed the money. I said, I want 2 fights on the contracts. I want more fights because this is a hard fight. 2 days. I didn't watch him fight. I didn't watch Antidelia fight. I didn't watch any fights. I didn't watch him fight one time. And after I took the fight, I still didn't watch him fight. It didn't matter. There was no point. So I took the fight Thursday night. I flew to Croatia Friday. I missed the weigh-in, and I fought him Saturday. And he beat me up. He cut me with an early punch in my eye. Cut my eye quite quickly. And he managed to take me down too much. My wrestling was very slow. I wasn't as sharp as I need to be, and I didn't get much going. I still showed my desire and my heart to compete, but I wasn't really ready enough for anyone, especially not someone like Anti, who's very high level, and I rate him very highly.
What can you say about your last fight where you won FEN Heavyweight Championship?
Yeah, so obviously I fought Simon Bayor. It was the first fight since the KSW fight where I had 2 days. And this time I had loads of time. I had 2 weeks. So that was good for me. 2-week camp. And obviously we had the lockdown, so the gyms have been shut. The gyms were all closed. I'd only been running. But with 2 weeks, I wanted to because I lost the last fight in Croatia, I wanted to make sure it was good decisions. I didn't want to get 2 losses in a row. So I looked at Simon Bayor, and obviously he's a very experienced, good record, good wins, fought fights around the world. But when I looked at his style was good for me. It was good for me. I could see ways that I could hurt him, and I was sure that I would win. So I took the fight and made a deal, and I'm sure I was supposed to lose because it's not, it's the Poland show, it's a Polish guy. But I was sure I'd win. I went to Poland without corner, without anybody. I went on my own because the quarantine was in England. No one wanted to quarantine when they got home. So my coaches didn't want to come because of the quarantine. So I went on my own. I had some friends out there, from Croatian guys I'm friends with, and they sort of helped me when I was there. But we got a great win in 23 seconds. We knocked him out with maybe the first right hand I threw. And I wasn't surprised. I knew I'd knock him out. Not that fast though. And now I'm the champion, and now I run the heavyweights in that company now.
Is there something maybe we missed? Would you like to add something to the interview?
No, I think it's some good stories. I like telling the old stories from the UFC and Bellator. I like moaning about some stuff as well. That's always good. I like explaining my light heavyweight badness, if you like, and I'm really just excited for what's coming, because even though I've been in the game for 11 years, I'm really loving what I'm doing at the moment. I'm really trying to still develop and add some new things to my game. And right now, even like right now today, I'm in great form and great shape, and I'm going to have a fight announced in the next week, I think. And also, this isn't a title defense either, not a title defense. And I will have a title defense before the end of the year as well. And I'm really excited to go and defend my title in the FEN as well.
Great. I will pause this interview tomorrow. I need to start creating video, and when it's finished, I will send you link. So
Please do.
yeah, no problem. I will send you. Thank you so much for this interview. It was great to chat with you.
Great speaking to you.